Capstone's video analysis features. Now you can use video right from your phone, which you can videotape some object in motion, and how you can import it into Capstone and analyze its motion. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the steps for this. The real quick summary is the following. I'm going to, step one, import the movie. So again, all I did was I shot some video with my iPhone, emailed it to myself. It's on my desktop. I'll import that. Step two is to calibrate the frame rate. Make sure the frame rate's correct. It's usually 30 frames per second. We'll verify that. And mute the audio. Third thing is we'll go into video analysis mode and set up some axes and calipers so it knows distances, Capstone knows distances and things like that. Adjust the frame increment rate. We actually collect the data using a magnifying glass to digitize video. And then finally we'll add some velocity and acceleration vectors. So that's the process. So we'll go to step one, import movie. So once you're here in the main screen, which is familiar to us, we've been using motion sensors with this screen, but now we can look at video. I'll still click on this first icon. Here's our graph. I'm going to click on the data table actually and remove it. So click on the data table, and I'm going to delete the data table. Okay, and then I'm going to make the graph a little smaller here for now. I'll come back to it a little bit. Okay. At the bottom right here of the icons for different features is a movie icon. So I'm going to click and drag that in. And I'll make that a little bit big here so I can see everything. So the first thing I'll do is I'll click Open Movie File. So again, all I've done is I shot some video with my iPhone, saved it to my desktop, click it, and I'll go to my desktop, and there it is, image 154. Click Open, and there's a picture of the video. I can click the play button here, and I'll see the video being played. Alright, no big deal. Good. So that was step one. Step two is to calibrate the frame rate. So I'm gonna, while I'm here, right click on the video, bring up the properties menu here, and I'll click on movie playback. So it's 29.9, which is good. I'll just make it even 30, and I'm going to mute the playback, okay, because you may have some background sound that you really don't hear right now. I'll click OK. Alright, if I do that, everything's still good. I just make sure the frame rate's correct. Alright. The next step, step 3, is video analysis mode. And I'm going to set up axes, adjust frame increments, collect the data, and add some vectors. So I'm going to go to video analysis mode. So video analysis mode, all you need to do to get into video analysis mode is there's a second icon here at the top, right there, and that's video analysis mode. Click on that. And we're in there, and you can tell because some axes pop up here. So this is an XY axis. We can click and drag around. I'm going to put it, let me get my video back to the beginning. I'm going to put it, let me back up to the beginning. Okay. And I'm going to put the axis right where the cart is. And notice how I've put blue tape on the cart, so that's the point I'm going to track. Capstone also has to know how big distances are. So there's a caliper here. It's these two edges here of this adjustable measuring device called a caliper. Put one at the end. This is a meter stick, so I know that's a meter. Put at the beginning there. Alright. And there we go. Let's set up my axes and my caliper. Alright. So that was step 3A. Step 3B is adjust frame increment. So what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to click on the cart, and every time I click on it, it's going to collect the data of where it's actually at. So if I have 30 frames per second, if I have 1 second of video, I'm going to have to click 30 times to collect that data. If I have 2 seconds of video, that's 60 clicks. 3 seconds is 90 clicks. That's a lot of clicking. Plus, it's almost too much data. I can get by with usually one click every 5 frames. So skip 5 frames. And sometimes that even a bit much. But you can, depending on the situation, adjust that. So I'm going to right click in the video, click on properties, and overlay is the first option here. I'll click that. And if you go down to the bottom, it says frame increment. I'm going to go with 5. I'm going to go with 5, click OK. And then now I'm going to actually start collecting the data. But to collect the data, step 3C is use the magnifying glass. Use magnifying glass. Alright, so I'm going to go over here. there's a magnifying glass icon that I'm going to click. Excuse me. Excuse me. And you'll notice when I move it around, it'll magnify what I'm looking at, which is really nice, so I can see the blue tape very clearly here. Again, I put the blue tape there so I can see exactly the data point I want to collect. If I click it, every time I click it, I'm going to collect data. So if you notice down here at the time, you'll see that this is going to increment every time I click to get a data point. So I'm going to continue clicking, and keep in mind it's skipping 5 frames for every click. So right now it's not moving quite yet. Right now it's starting to move. Starting to move. Starting to move. Alright. And just as a note, when I did this, there it is, it's moving more. I had the camera on a stationary surface. If you just hold it with your hand, even though you think it's steady, you'll see all the jittery movement of your hand. So it's best to have it on a stationary object. I just put it on the table. Flatten the table. Okay, and now we're starting to move forward here. And so I'm just going to click on the center of the tape as best I can. Right here. Right here. Right here. So I'm collecting position and time information, where the cart's at different instances of time. So it's basic what the motion sensor would collect, but I can see what I'm analyzing as it moves. So get one more there. Okay. And I go one more there. I think that's it. Okay. So if I click it right now and play it from scratch, you can see that wherever I click tracked its motion. Okay. So next, that's kind of interesting. So what we'll do next is we'll take a look at what the graph looks like. So this is before we add the vectors, scoot this graph up a little more. I'm going to take a look at the graph of this object. So I'm going to take a look at object 1's x position versus time. And now you can see there's my position versus time graph. It looks like a constant velocity type situation. And the cool thing is if I click and play it, I'll see the graph created at the same time as the motion, which is kind of cool. I can also take a look at its velocity. Stop it here. I can also take a look at its velocity instead. I'll click on objects x velocity, vx velocity, which looks something like this. And so you can see that there's a slight decrease in the velocity as it moves. So it's actually decelerating because of friction, which we've seen. Okay. So lastly, we're going to take a look at the vectors. So qualitatively, this is kind of cool because you can see the vectors that are associated with the motion. So let me get rid of the magnifying glass. I'm going to right click in the video again. Right click. Shoot. Right click. What's happening here? I was in video analysis mode. I'm going to right click. There we go. Properties. And there's my overlay option. I'm going to click that, or excuse me, vector option. So I'm going to click on vector, and there's velocity vector. So what usually works out the best is always show the vector. You can see something just popped up through that little line now. And I'm going to show only the x vector, not the y vector. That's vertical motion. What's best to use is a bolder line so you can see it. And there it is. It pops up there. You can also change the zooming level. So if I click 8, it becomes bigger. You can see in the background there. 16 becomes really big. So if it's really big, they start to overlap. You can't really see what's going on. So I'll go back to 4, maybe even 2. Because I want to see individual vectors. Actually, 1 doesn't look bad at all. Okay. And if I play the video, you can begin to see the direction of the velocity vector as it moves along. So it's pointing forward, okay, because it's moving forward. That's the velocity vector. I can also take a look at acceleration vectors. So let's go back to properties, vectors. I'll go to velocity, turn that one off. Go to acceleration and turn it on. And same type of thing. I'll get rid of the X, make it bold, extra bold. Okay. And this is supposed to give you the color. For some reason, it doesn't show color correctly. It just shows you the colors it wants to give you. So I'm not sure if it's a bug or whatnot. Extra bold one time. Let me take a look at 2 times the background. That may be a little easier to see. Maybe even 4, maybe even 8. So I'm going to or 8. That might be good. Let's try 8. You can always change it if you like. So as I play the video here, you can see the acceleration. I have acceleration there, and then you start to see a backward pointing arrow right on here to denote deceleration rates. So you can analyze the video in terms of vectors. You can take a look at a qualitative look at it, and then you can also take a look at the graphical version of it. So that's the that's Capstone's video analysis feature. So in quick summary, what I did was I imported a movie right from my phone, emailed it to myself, shot the video with my phone, emailed it to myself, however you want to get onto your computer. Import it, calibrate the frame rate, 30 frames per second. I set up axis and calipers so I can determine where things are moving and distances. I adjust the frame increment so that I don't have to click as many times. Again, all this is under properties. I collect the data by clicking on each data point and add velocity and acceleration vectors, and also look at the graph. So that's a quick introduction to Capstone's video analysis features.